approval of January 20th, 2017 regular commission meeting minutes.
It's January 10th.
Sorry, there is an error. It should be January 10th, regular commission meeting minutes.
And Madam Chair, I wonder if the commission would consider revision to the agenda at this point and move the city manager's report above the closed session. Because we would not plan on returning.
Do we need a vote on that or just? So all of those in favor of moving city manager report item I up to just under item F, is that correct?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right. Does anyone have anything regarding the regular meeting minutes of January 10th?
After reviewing the minutes, I found nothing to be corrected, so I approve, or make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor of approving the regular commission meetings of January 10th, 2017, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Deliberate and act on resolution 2017-05 budget adjustment number 7 FY17. Michael Ann?
Mayor and Commission, this evening I have budget adjustment number 7 for you. It's pretty much just requesting a temporary transfer out of the general fund into our capital projects for the airport fuel tank project. That project should be complete and closed out in the next few weeks. However, we are going to have to be able to pay the vendor and submit for reimbursement through the state aviation grant for that. So we're requesting a temporary transfer, so you'll see that it's an in and an out. Also, I discovered when we were reviewing the quarterly lodgers tax budget reports that I had made an error in the budget on the museum. They had originally requested $35,000. So the action that the commission took back in May was to award them half of their request, and I inputted it into the budget as $17,000, and it should be $17,500. So we would correct that, and those additional funds would just come out of our reserve. The other adjustment was just to our Clean Water State Revolving Fund debt, just to do a line item adjustment to adjust it to reflect the actual principal, interest, and admin fees. And those were the only budget adjustments I had for you this evening. Is there any questions?
I have none.
Any questions, Mayor Mance?
No, there isn't.
All right.
I make a motion to pass resolution number 2017-5, budget adjustment number 17, fiscal year 17, or budget adjustment number 7, rather. Fiscal 17.
All right.
Second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2017-05 budget adjustment number 7 FY17. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Chavez?
Yes.
Commissioner Schuster?
Yes.
Commissioner Giacomo?
Yes.
Mayor Mance?
Yes.
Motion passes. Deliberate and act on resolution 2017-06 second quarter financial report. Michael Ann?
Mayor and Commission, in your packet this evening is a resolution approving the second quarter financial reports. This is the quarterly ones, so at the end of the meeting it will require that I get everybody's signature. We will be submitting these second quarter financial reports by January 30th to DFA. You will see that as of December 31st that our ending cash balance in the general fund did improve slightly, and that was due to partial receipt of the first half of the property tax. And also our gross receipts received in the month of January still remain strong, and we're showing a 5.26% increase per budget. The big unknown will still be the small cities assistance, and that probably won't be received until April after the legislative session. I have reconciled all of our accounts. We did have one deposit error that caused the general fund and the trust and agency to be out of balance $5, but we found that and we've fixed that, so that has been cleared up. I did just a day or two ago receive the other part of the property tax. I think it was yesterday, and that check was for $228,189. So you will see a significant improvement in our ending cash balance with next month's report. Other than that, all of our departments, as usual, are operating very conservatively, just as we've, monitored the gross receipts. So everybody's operating within budget. And I would say that our revenues, including the GRT, are very strong at this point for the first 6 months of the fiscal year. Is there any specific questions regarding the financial report?
Any questions?
No questions here?
Any questions, Mayor Mance?
No, I do not.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2017-06, second quarter financial report.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2017-06, second quarter financial report. Do we need a roll call on this? Can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Giacomo,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez.
Yes.
Commissioner Schuster,
Yes.
Mayor Mance.
Yes.
Motion passes. Deliberate and act on Resolution 2017-07, approval of Title VI plan.
Chairman and Commission and Mayor, in regard to the Title VI plan, we're talking about Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and this adoption would be required for certain types of federal funding. So currently, we have applied for funding which comes from Federal Highways Administration to New Mexico DOT, and it would be for rehabilitation of our walking trails in the Central Park area. And to continue with that funding, that grant, we would take this action, pass the resolution and adopt the Title VI plan. So Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, just to give you a little basic information, protects people from discrimination based on race, color, and national origin in programs and activities receiving federal financial assistance. So that would be the basis of the plan that we're adopting. You can see it's a rather lengthy document, and it is described in the resolution in some more detail. But that would be the basics of the action proposed tonight.
I have one small question. On page 10 on the graph, it shows mayor and city council. Does that matter to us that it's council rather than commission?
We need to revise that to a city commission. We did ask for some help in putting the plan together from our airport consultant, and I think typically they would deal with a municipality with a city council. So
Right.
We'll have to make that revision to it, and it should simply read the city commission. So we would make that revision to the plan before we approve it and send it out.
Are there any other questions regarding Title VI plan?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2017-07, approval of the Title VI plan.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 2017-07, approval of Title VI plan. Are there any further questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Deliberate and act on Resolution 2017-08, NMFA Aquatic Center FY17 additional debt payment.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, Mayor, if I could preface Mrs. Antonucci's comments, I would say that at the last meeting, we had talked about this, and we had reviewed the enabling ordinance in which a quarter-cent of gross receipts tax was designated several years ago for specific uses towards the aquatic center. At that meeting, Mr. Chatterley, our director, was not able to attend, but I think he's got both things covered tonight. He's showing the troop a night out, and this is kind of a treat for us to see the troop attend. I think Mr. Chatterley would answer any questions you have, but the juggling act on this funding is we would accrue this receipts from this quarter-cent gross receipts tax through the year and have that available for generally if we have replacement of equipment or components in the aquatic center. And when this was put in, we talked about this, and we anticipated that 5 or 6 years into operation of it, we would start to see the need for work on equipment or replacement of certain components, and certainly that's happened. So we've had a number of issues with that over the last 6 months, and Mr. Chatterley can answer any specific questions that you have. And then we get to this time of the year, and I think we look at taking the funds that we've accrued and advancing debt service and trying to reduce our debt on that and accelerate the retirement of that debt. So we've put a proposal in front of the commission tonight, which Mrs. Antonucci is going to detail for you how the debt works, who we're dealing with there. But basically, we would take I believe it's $150,000 of the funds that we have accrued and put towards the early retirement of that debt. And I'll turn that over to our treasurer.
Sure. Mayor and Commission, this resolution is very similar to the one that we did last year. We did have a meeting with our Financial Advisory Committee in November, and so we did, actually, Jared Chatterley did give a presentation to our committee at that time, which we held the meeting at the aquatic facility, and he also gave us a little tour. So at that time, we did examine kind of the cash balances, where we were at, how the gross receipts was doing. And so we feel relatively confident that we can once again do an additional debt payment, and we're recommending $150,000 additional principal payment, which is the same as last year. We do feel that that will still maintain somewhat of a reserve that would cover some of these incidences that the city manager was discussing as far as boiler repairs and things that we've experienced this year. But as you'll remember, in 2005 was the initial debt that debt service we took out on the aquatic center, and it was a quarter cent. When we went to NMFA again in 2009 to take out some additional debt, we've still pledged that same quarter cent, but as the downturn of the economy that we experienced probably around 2008, that quarter cent wasn't generating enough to cover the debt payments on both of those loans. So in 2015, we returned to the commission and recommended the imposition of another quarter cent. And so with that quarter cent, as the city manager said, that additional increment is dedicated to the debt service, but also capital improvements, and we specified parking lot drainage, landscaping, energy efficiency, aquatic center operations, repair, and maintenance. And so that's the specific language that was in the ordinance that was passed. The 2007 note with the New Mexico Finance Authority, that bond is callable. The 2009 will still not be callable, I think, till 2019. So we're focusing on paying down and applying additional principal payments to the 2007 debt. And in doing so, if the commission approves this resolution this evening, then we would then notify New Mexico Finance Authority 45 days prior to the due date of the payment, which is May 1st. So by taking action this evening, that would give us plenty of time to give them the proper notice, and then they'll turn around and invoice us for the actual scheduled debt payment plus the additional $150,000. And then after that, they'll send us a amended amortization schedule. And we'll use that for budget purposes for next year. So is there any questions about the request to make another additional debt payment for fiscal year 17?
I don't have any more.
No? Mayor Mance, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
No.
And I would like to move the acceptance of Resolution 2017-08.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept Resolution 2017-08, New Mexico Finance Authority Aquatic Center FY17 additional debt payment. May we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Schuster,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez.
Yes.
Commissioner Giacomo,
Yes.
Mayor Mintz.
Yes.
Motion passes. Mr. Chatterley, did you have anything you wanted to just add in general? Just to put you on the spot.
Mayor, members of the commission, I believe the city manager provided you with a memo that I had drawn up at his request. And just to kind of cut to the chase, the Aquatic Center will be open its 7th summer coming up, and so we are getting into that part of the life of the Aquatic Center where there are issues starting to arise maintenance-wise, as we've just recently seen. So we as a department do our best to try to mitigate those kind of maintenance issues by doing regular maintenance, but unfortunately, if you ask any technician, anything that's mechanical, it's not when it's gonna, it's not if it's gonna fail, but when it's gonna fail. And so I just appreciate your efforts in looking at, obviously, it is our goal to pay down the debt as quickly as possible, but at the same time, you know, considering the different maintenance issues that will arise, most of them unforeseeable, unfortunately, but I just appreciate y'all's stewardship and looking over that. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your work.
And Jared, the boiler is operational, working good?
Boiler is up and running. We're back to our 85 degrees. All the folks are very happy. They had missed their home, as they said, so they're back home and everybody's having a good time.
Very good.
Thank you.
Mr. Chatterley, one
Yes.
question. How's the structure itself holding up?
The structure itself is holding well. There aren't any major structural issues. Most of the issues that we've had have been with just the mechanical issues. Had an issue with the HVAC, obviously the issue with the boiler. But as far as cracks or foundations or issues like that, we're holding well.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Okay, thank you. Moving on. Deliberate and act on reappointment of city board, and under this item is the library board. And I see we have a application from Janice Schumpert, as library, to be on the library advisory board.
This is reappointment. She is on the board now.
She is on the board now.
I'd like to make a motion. She's very qualified. I'd make a motion to approve her application.
Second.
Very good. It's been moved and seconded to approve Ms. Schumpert as reappointment to the Library Advisory Board. Any additional comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed by the same, motion carries. Mr. Berry, do you have a manager's report for us tonight?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners, and Mayor. I plan to travel to Santa Fe on Thursday, and we have a couple of things to do down there. Try to meet with our delegation at the legislature, submit our capital outlay requests, try to update our delegation as far as things that we are looking at in Raton and what we've got going. And following the reports from the legislature, there really have been efforts to close the gap, the budget gap, and pull money back. And so I think we're not really expecting capital outlay to be funded, but we'll have our requests in, and not really an idea right now what happens with capital outlay, but we'll discuss that while we're down there. Also, I will, while I'm down there, I'll meet with Federal Highway Administration. We'll discuss the closeout of the multimodal project. Construction had finished about 2 months ago on multimodal, but there were a couple of issues administratively to closing out the project, and I think it'll really conclude with this meeting and get some signatures from Federal Highway Administration. So we'll take care of that. The treasurer had updated you or given you some financial information in regard to the airport, just to add a few things to that. We have ordered signage that would be placed for operation of the new gate. There is a in-pavement sensor for operation of the gate, and the purpose of the gate is to keep wildlife out of the interior, the perimeter of the airport. But it's not immediately clear to someone who pulls up to the airport now what they're supposed to do. So we are expecting delivery of the signage. Public Works will install that, and we would expect that would happen next week. But the gate is working well, and we have some wildlife that are currently stuck in the perimeter. So there is some efforts going on with New Mexico Game and Fish to move that wildlife outside of the airport property, and then we'll have the wildlife problem solved, and that's been going on for quite a while, so we'll be glad to have that done. In regard to our new overwing apron fuel tank, the tank is in place. The project is about 80% complete. There's some instrumentation and operational things to complete on that. There's removal of the old tank, so that project is moving along. That's the project that we did the transfer of funds in anticipation of completion of that, and we would expect to have that completed by the end of February. I did meet with State Aviation on Saturday along with a couple of commissioners, and we talked about some of those projects. We talked about status of other projects, including the rehabilitation of Taxiway A, the construction of Taxiway D, and construction of the apron. We also talked about updating our airport layout plan and our stormwater plan that we had discussed at the last meeting. So we had a good meeting with State Aviation, and we talked about what the potential for funding through State Aviation for additional projects like the construction of Taxiway D, and they were pretty positive about getting that funding in place in 2017. So we will have to report back and anticipate that in our 17 budget, and we'll be talking about that come budget time this spring. I would like to report that Chief Matthews has just got back to Raton after being deployed for the inauguration process. So he was in D.C. for about 4 days, and as he described to me, a pretty interesting process. But we're proud that we have some skill in Raton that we could help with the necessary services there for that. Tomorrow morning, the New Mexico Environment Department will be in Cimarron. Dan Campbell from the Water Department will meet officials from the Surface Water Bureau there, specifically to talk about the contamination of the Cimarron River. We did contact the New Mexico Environment Department. We've got a very prompt response from them. They've provided test results for water quality in the river, and they're very helpful in trying to protect the water resource, and they understand the concerns and the issues with not only Raton's water, but Springer's water, other people that use water there, the irrigation, the fish habitat. So I think they're working hard, and they've expressed to us that they will continue to monitor water quality in the river, and we're happy about that. I would like to conclude by bringing up with the commission that a proposal that we conduct a strategic planning session. I'd like to do that. I'd like to suggest to you all that we do that on February 24th. I have talked to Retha Shiplet, who would be our facilitator for that process. Retha is a Raton native, but she is the COO at Quality New Mexico, and has helped us with our internal strategic planning so far. So if there's not an objection from the commission, I'll set something up for February 24th, that's a Friday, and we would look at starting at 9 a.m. It will be a public meeting, but it would take place at a more conducive location for that type of workshop, which will be named later. And that's all I have, Madam Chair.
And what day of the week is that, the 24th?
Saturday.
Saturday?
That should be a Friday,
Friday?
hopefully.
I'm looking on, yes it is, it's a Friday.
Okay.
Okay, that works nicely. Does anybody have any objection to that? No?
We'll proceed along
And
with
proceed.
that and
Yeah.
get preparations made for that.
Yeah,
And we would anticipate that it's basically a day-long process.
and that's when we kind of had earlier talked about possibly on the 3rd.
That's right. We
Okay.
kicked it back a couple of times,
Yeah,
but
that's
the
all right.
24th looks pretty good right
Good.
now. So,
That'll work. All right, I see we have a new guest in the audience. Mr. Medina, is there anything? No? All right. Our next item on the agenda is a closed session, but before we do that, I want to say thank you again to Mr. Swanson for your hard work in beautifying this fair city of ours, and to Mr. Chatterley for bringing your Boy Scouts. And I also want to say to you Boy Scouts, thank you very much for being Boy Scouts. This is your first step in being active in your community. It's very important to be active in your community and do what you can to make it the best place it can be to live, no matter where you live in the future. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for coming. I hope you get a
Thank you,
badge
guys.
out of this.
This is one of the requirements to come and attend a commission meeting or a public meeting.
Very good. So, we will now go into closed executive session pursuant to New Mexico SA 10-15-1H7, threatened or pending litigation, regarding litigation landfill lawsuit, Mark Van Busker and Lori Van Busker versus City of Raton, case number D-809-CV-2013-00245, and closed executive session pursuant to New Mexico SA 10-15-1H5, collective bargaining negotiations between City of Raton and Raton firefighters, IAFF Local 2378.